When you see the whole world shaking and you feel your heart is breaking, take my hand, no hesitating. When you're just so tired of trying, all alone you feel like hiding. Together we'll keep fighting. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains too high we can climb it. Feelings we're taking the moment. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Can you see the sun is shining like a new hope? Feel it rising, coming over the horizon. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains too high we can climb it. Feelings we'll take in the moment. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. There's no stopping.
Okay, it's still going on. Okay, we'll put a couple more fireworks on. I'm sorry. I'm having technical difficulties. And here I am. And the fireworks are still going on. I gotta cut that off. Okay. So happy 4th of July weekend. It's almost 7 p.m. I'm going to try to do this quickly. A lot of people are traveling this weekend. It's a long holiday weekend. I'll try to make it fast. I'm Chris Gargiulo. I'm a licensed referral specialist for Realty Connect LLC. I could find you a home or list a home within the 50 states of the United States of America. Okay, I will consult you, but through my website or through my referrals, I will put together with some of the best agents in the area for you to find a home and listing home. Okay, and I could also still work with you, consult you, but I will not actually will be showing you homes or listing your homes. Okay, so I'm more of a referral specialist who's also doing a lot of marketing. Okay, and just to solidify that point, here's my video. Okay, and this is my weekly podcast, video podcast. I'm uploading them now to Spotify with the video, which I think is a lot better because I'm more of a visual program than just a lot of talk. You know, I have my videos, I have my fun, and I have hopefully giving you good knowledge about the real estate industry, but I want to make it enjoyable. So I like it now that my podcasts are actually videos on Spotify. Like that a whole lot. Okay. And I do this weekly, and hopefully I'm covering the current topics of what's going on. And speaking of topics, we have Tobin from Norfolk, who will give the topic question for the day.
Good day, Mr. G, enjoying all your video podcasts. Is it possible that we could have another real estate crash like we had back in 2007? Can you also update us on today's lending standards? Any info would be most appreciated, especially since I would like to purchase in the near future. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Tobin, for that question. And let's bring our PDF on file or up on the screen. And I'm going to make myself a little bubble so you see more of the screen. And we could get rid of my caption right now. You know what we're going to talk about, okay? All right. All right. So this concerns about whether or not we're going to have the same crash of the real estate market that we had in 2007, 2008. And actually, that's when I moved down to Virginia, deciding to do real estate full time. Okay. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York. I was a high school business teacher there. I would do real estate in the afternoon, mostly rentals, because rentals, you do not have to do there's no appraisal, there's no home inspection, there's no contract, there's just a lease. And when you are working part-time, that goes a lot easier than if you're doing sales, where you have all these other obligations. However, back in New York, the rents were getting high. Now they're outrageous. I'm talking back now, almost 17 to 20 years. When I was doing it, I actually started doing it on my own at the beginning of the 2000s. Prior to that, I worked for a company locally in Park Slope, Brooklyn. That's a whole other podcast. All right. But and when I went out on my own, since I did not have to split the commission, I was making good money. All right. And there was actually supplemental income because I was also a teacher. And I did pretty well, knock on wood, for myself there. And I loved it because I was working at home. We had our children, and I had more time to be with them, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to go off topic. I'm sorry. But when I came down in 2007, I went completely 100% into real estate. And I came down in a really bad time because it was the crash of that bubble. And the market really wasn't doing that good. A lot of people were losing homes. There were a lot of foreclosures. And people today are afraid of that happening again because all this talk about the economy. But we've had this talk about the economy now for about a year, and the economy is not bad in the sense of people not having jobs. All right. There's probably right now more jobs available than there are people who are looking. So that's a good thing that we have about the economy. I mean, the problem we have is with inflation. Though inflation, it's coming down. in some areas. I know there's going to be people still complaining about grocery bills and different items. I tell you one thing, and again, I feel like I'm going a little bit off topic, but if you live in the area, like for instance, we're in Hampton Roads, we have a myriad of stores to shop at. So if the prices are too high at grocery A or grocer A, we could go to grocer B, C, D, E, okay? And you can find more reasonable prices for the groceries you like if we're talking, well, we all like bread. So let me just say for bread, at one store could be a lot cheaper than it is at another, and it's not really less quality. So if you live in a region where you have that competition of stores and you shop wisely, you look at the Sunday paper, or a lot of people, including myself, who get it online now, or you go to the store website and look at their flyers, and if you bargain shop, you could deal with these high prices in certain areas. But again, if you live in the area that's rural and there's only one big grocery store there, then there is some difficulty, because you can't go to a competing store and find a better price. But there's a big change in the mortgage industry that we have now that we did not have in 2007, 2008, and it's dealing with lending standards. And I remember working, when I was doing real estate, I worked a little bit with a mortgage broker, and they would always advertise in the Daily News and New York Post, no income verification loans, and there were so many different mortgage packages out there that no matter what your income or your credit rating, because there were a lot more lenders who would work with B, C, D. I probably go, probably C, D, E credit than we have today. And these people who applied, got loans that very possibly they could not truly afford. And I'll give you one big example. And it happened to be with an adjustable rate mortgage. Now, adjustable rate mortgages are good if you work with it wisely. But what happened back in 2007, and I remember this one situation dealing with a librarian in New York, forgot what borough, and as we all know, just a fast recap on the adjustable rate mortgage, it starts out lower than the going rate. So let's say the going rate is 7%, it might start out at 2%. And throughout the years, it'll grow in percentage. And it may have a cap on it. It might have a 9% cap. It might have a 10% cap, that it won't go higher. But it'll start off lower. But there'll be a point where the rate will go higher than the present day market rate. So, of course, a loan, and she went for a house that was really out of her income level. Let's say, for example, it was $500,000, and at 2% interest, she could afford that monthly mortgage payment. But as the rate creeped up, she could no longer afford it. So what they did back then, going back to 2007, 2006, is that they would approve the buyer at that lower rate. And of course they could afford it, but once it moved up, they could no longer afford it, and then the house would go into foreclosure. But they don't do that anymore. Okay. Now, there are still adjustable rate mortgages out there, not as many, but what the mortgage lending officer will do now, and I don't know why they call them officers, because I don't think they carry guns. Maybe badges, maybe they have badges. But anyway, that's a whole other topic. They will now qualify you at that higher rate. So, in the case of the librarian, and the house was $500,000, they would see what that mortgage would be, that monthly mortgage payment would be at 10%. And if that librarian could afford that monthly payment, then she would get the mortgage and would be able to buy the house. Back at 2007, they didn't look at that. They looked at what she could afford at that 2% or whatever the lower mortgage rate would be. And they said, okay, you got the house. And as soon as it went up, she could no longer afford it. So now the monthly, now the lending standards are a little bit more, I don't want to say difficult, but tighter. Okay. And maybe, it's more of a correction, the way it should be. So in today's PDF file, we have, again, as we introduce, you might be worried that we're heading for a housing crash, but the market is not like it was in 2008. And here's some data. For every month, the Mortgage Bankers Association, or MBA, releases the Mortgage Credit Availability Index, or the MCAI. According to their website, the MCI provides the only standardized quantitative index that is solely focused on mortgage credit. The MCAI is a summary of measure which indicates the availability of mortgage credit at a point of time. So basically, it's how the index determines on how easy it is to get a mortgage. And then they give the graph below. But before we go to the graph below, let's look at what it really means, what the different lines mean. So when lending standards are less strict, it's easy to get a mortgage. And the index, the green line in the graph, is higher. But when the lending standards are stricter, it's harder to get a mortgage, and the line representing the index is lower. So let's go down to the index, and we see we start off at 2004, was kind of midpoint here, and then in 2005 to 2006, 2007, it goes to a point where it gets like really, really easy to get that mortgage. And then we have all the difficulties with the foreclosures that people could no longer afford it. And so I gave you one example with the adjustable rate mortgage. But there are other cases where it's a straight 30-year fix. But again, they're giving it to people who might not have told the truth on their applications about how much money they make. They may have falsified tax returns. Okay, that's a no now. All right. But basically, the mortgage companies, let's read it down here, in the early 2000s, it wasn't exactly hard to snag a home mortgage. Plenty of mortgages were doled out to people who lied about their incomes and employment and couldn't actually afford home ownership, okay? That's why now when you say I work at this company, and you might show W-2s, but the banks send out letters now to that company to verify employment and income. All right, so that's, you can't lie on that. All right, so on your jobs and your income. Also, uh, what you're saying on your income taxes, um, and in case you're forging your W-2s, they will, whatever you say, they're going to ask for a copy of your statement from the government, and just to verify that what you gave them is what you also gave to the government. So it's really difficult now to, um, and if I use the word forge, maybe that's too strong, but the fib, like to say you made more than you actually made. All right. So that's all been cut out. All right. And they're more strict. And I even know, and just for mostly new buyers, but sometimes this happens with home buyers who have bought before and they get confused or shocked, and they find out, the loan officer said, "Hey, you're fine, you're all good, you gave in your paperwork," and now the underwriter is calling in and asking for more details or for something to be verified, and that is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just they're double checking. They're dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's. Okay. A lot of this happens when you, for instance, have additional income. It could be from rental income. I had one guy who had homes in the Caribbean, and what the renters would do, they would just, well, according to him, would just make a cash deposit in his bank account. But it wasn't consistent. There was no copies of checks, so something like that, they needed more clarification. All right. Basically, you just have your income coming from one source, and you got that W-2 is all correct. That's pretty clean and fast. But you have additional incomes, whether it's child support, whether it's alimony, whether it's disability, whether it's rental income, you just have to do some more verification. So don't get scared if the underwriter is asking for more paperwork. They just have to make sure they have all their ducks in a row. Okay? So basically, it's ending here. Lenders were approving loans without always going through the verification process to confirm if the borrower would likely be able to repay the loan. That means creditors were lending to more borrowers who had a higher risk of defaulting on their loans. And the next highlighted section today, lenders impose tough standards on borrowers. And those who are getting a mortgage overwhelmingly have excellent credit. Now, usually when we hear excellent credit, we're hearing in the 700s, into the very few have it like over 800. There are some people who do, who are so meticulous. You could still get a mortgage with a 640 credit score rating to 680. It's not what they're saying excellent, but you would still be able to, in most cases, and then a lot of those cases, get a mortgage. So here where the article says overwhelmingly have excellent credit. Well, if you have excellent credit, then there's no problem with getting a mortgage. But if you have a couple of hiccups and you're around the 680, you should still be able to get that mortgage. Okay? So basically, it's saying that the standards have gotten tougher. And again, I'm going to close this out here. And again, that doesn't mean, oh, look, the fireworks are behind me. Okay, that's nice. All right, so I have to make myself nice and big. So, you again, just to reiterate, you don't have to have the 750 credit score. You could have the 680, you could have the 640, and still get a home. You might have to jump through a few more hoops, show a little bit more paperwork, do a little bit more explanation, but you'll be able to get that house. Okay. And now I know what I wanted to say. So don't see that as a bad thing. See it as a good thing, because if you didn't get that mortgage right now, and your loan officer will give you recommendations on how to increase your credit, and it could be fixed in 1 month. I've had clients who got that credit together in 1 month. They just paid down some debt. Some took 3 months, but they got it done. And this way, you're getting that home with more of a feeling that I'm okay. I did everything I did. I'm pretty safe now. I most likely, hopefully not, will default on that mortgage. So it's a good thing. All right, to get your credit cleared up, to get your balances down. All right. So with that, I'm going to show my little video. We're going to look at it from the side of the seller or the owner, and we're going to talk about equity in your home. All right, even though some values of homes have decreased because of that gigantic leap in home values, and going back to the 2019 to 20 and so forth, you still have a lot of equity in your house, even though there might have been a little decline. All right. So remember, getting close to a half hour here, I have my things to consider when selling your house. It's supposed to be the summer edition. I got to fix this. Yeah, it's the summer edition now. Ugh. I got to remember to upload those. What is this? Okay, we don't need that. All right, and where do you go for those things? You go to, let me get up here, realestateWithMrG.blog/resource-materials, okay? And you could download those for free. All right. Now, I'm hearing from my producer, Isabella, that we may have a special celebrity in the audience.
Yes, Mr. G, we have a famous celebrity in the audience. Originally from Japan, she practiced acrobatics in her small Tokyo apartment with her parents and 7 siblings. She performed so well in her native country, she then decided to take a boat to America. Performing in the streets of New York, she soon later got work in nightclubs, appeared on The Joe Franklin Show, and soon later Ed Sullivan. Ladies and gentlemen, Little Kovoro Magazaki.
am I? Okay. Hold on, folks. Okay. I apologize for that. I wanted to have that nice graphic for 4th of July, and I kind of messed up. All right. So have a lot of people have a 4-day weekend. Be safe. Be with family. Enjoy. Love. Don't overeat. And we'll see you next week. Okay. So remember, as I always say, the greatest power we have is to love, and the greatest gift, each other. I'll see you next week.